Okay, first off, Abel, I really want to appreciate you hopping on here, man. I know you are an extremely busy man, so I won't take up too much of your Saturday. I did notice that you have a lot of success using our system. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions to, maybe provide a little bit of value for the agents that are currently working with us and some of the
Yeah.
agents that have been, kind of sitting on the fence. So I think you've been working with us for about almost 4 months now. What has your experience been so far?
So we met in Miami, chatted about real estate, and when you laid out the program and told me how it works, it was very intriguing, right? Like you're reaching out to people via SMS, which are people are going to be opening, where it's like cold calling. Sometimes people don't even pick up their phone anymore, but everyone's reading the text. And then you said, hey, look, we guaranteed 20 leads, and there's a lot of other digital marketing agencies out there that guarantee leads, but I wasn't very impressed with anybody that I've worked with in the past, because when you say lead, it's like a loose term where there's a lot of Facebook ads and stuff, and it's like somebody clicks on it and they call it a lead. That's not a lead, right? So anyway, long story short, you guys did exactly what you said you would do. And I would get at least 20 leads, people that were actually thinking about selling their house, that responded to the text. And then it was just pretty easy to like tee them up. It's like, hey, like I buy houses, which I do cash. If you want me to do that with you, I can. If you're looking for absolute top dollar, we do business different than other agents, and I can show you how we can get that done. So it's like keeping the options open, either with like a wholesale opportunity, if they wanted to sell it for cash, or listings. And then so far, I would say probably like 7 to 8 listings that we've taken and sold already, just from your guys' system. And then our average commission in California in our area is like $25,000. So it added up really quickly. And then we have a pipeline. Again, I think we started doing this in May. So every single month since May, we've gotten 20 people in the database. And if they're not ready to go today, they're like most likely going to do something in the next 12 to 24 months. So
That's
I
insane.
would, I'm not going to not renew. I'm going to keep.
I love that. Like 7 to 8 listings in just a short amount of time. Like that really shows, how much, time, energy, and effort you guys are actually putting behind these leads. And it goes back to, all
Right.
these other marketing agencies out there, they promise all this stuff. And from my past experience, a lot of agents say like, hey, these leads suck. But a lot of the time it's the follow-up process in place. Sometimes not even calling the leads. What's kind of like your
Right.
follow-up process in place with the leads that we're getting you? Like, do you have a specific follow-up plan?
Yeah, so I have myself, Jordan, who you met out in Miami, that works with me, and then Brian, who's on my team as well. And then we have Chelsea, and then we have our virtual assistant, um, Weena. So basically, we just all call the leads, like until somebody gets in contact with them. So it's like all call. If I
Hmm.
don't get an answer, Jordan will call, Weena will call, Chelsea will call, Brian will call. So eventually, they're gonna pick up the phone, right? And then we just take good notes on like, okay, did I leave a voicemail? Did I just not get connected? Did I talk to the person? So then that way, when the next person calls in their sequence, like they kind of know what's going on with that lead. And then it's always just about like getting your foot in the door with an appointment, because they're usually completely different people on the phone or on text versus how they would act when you're actually sitting in front of them. And it's so much easier to convert when you're sitting down with somebody. So like that's just the name of the game. It's like, hey, if there's any possibility that you think this person would sell, it's imperative that you get in front of them and then offer value when you're at that meeting. And then it should be a no-brainer for the client to work with you at that point.
Right. So your goal just basically is to get in front of them face to face.
Yeah.
This is the goal. Yeah.
Because if you think about like what your system does, it's reaching out to people cold, right? Like, hey, do you want to sell your house, or would you consider an offer? And then that person has to respond positively before we ever talk to them or even know that they exist. So the fact that they're responding positively, like, yeah, sure, I would consider an offer, it means that they probably would. Like if somebody texted me about like wanting to sell my house and I had no interest, I wouldn't respond, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
like the fact that they are responding is a good sign. And there's probably a pretty good probability that you can convert them if you just stick to it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the point that we try to relay to everyone is like, look, we're strangers texting these homeowners, and they're actually responding to us, having conversations. That is some form of interest. And if they show any form of interest of selling, you as an agent should do a good job of, convincing them either take the offer that we lead with or, go with a listing. How do you kind of
Right.
convince, like, do you have to do any convincing, or is it pretty simple, because you're saying, hey, I want to give you an offer. How do you convince them to go the listing route, or do you do what's best for them?
Yeah, I try to do what's best for them because it's like depending on their motivation, the condition of their house, their time frame. There's only a certain percentage of those people that it's actually going to make sense for them to just sell it off market cash at somewhat of a discount, which is great. Like I'm more than happy to provide that service to them if that's what they're looking for. But I would say 9 times out of 10, it's like, no, I want top dollar for my house. It's a nice house, right? And I need the money to buy something else down the road. So it's like, okay, well, if we can determine what category you're in, then it's like just a matter of questions. What works really well for me is number one, would you say, Mr. Seller, that at some point you are going to move? It's just a matter of when. Like at some point, someday, whether it's today or years from now, at some point you're going to sell this house, correct? And you have to get them to admit to that. And once you have that, right, that level of commitment where they're in their heads agreeing with you, like, yes, at some point I'm going to sell, then the next question is, okay, well, great. When you do sell, how important is it to you that you get the best price? And then they're going to say, obviously very important, right? It's like almost a hypothetical question, but you already know the answer that you're going to get, which is I want the best price. And then it's like, that's where the value proposition comes in. Well, like, great, if I can show you how you can sell your house for way more money than it's worth, right? And net tens of thousands of dollars more than your neighbors will, is that worth looking into?
Right.
Or you could use like a negative question where it's like, okay, great. So you are going to sell, you want the best price. If you knew that by waiting, a year or whatever, you'd be losing a ton of money, would you still have to wait? And then they're going to be like, well, how would I be losing money? And again, that's your opportunity to say, well, I'll show you, but we need to get together.
Interesting. So you're literally just leading with value. When you can lead with value, they're here to trust you a lot more. I like that strategy a lot.
Right. And then, yeah, so as long as you can get them on the phone after the text comes through, you're, having a real conversation with them, and you can ask those questions, which gets the prospect to see it in a different perspective. Like, yes, at some point, someday I'm going to sell. And yes, Abel, I do want the best price. So yes, it makes sense for us to at least figure out what that looks like. And then when you're in front of them, and your presentation skills are good, you're going to get the listing. Or you're going to be able to figure out, okay, well, hey, this person really just wants to sell right now. Let me just make them an offer. I think we've done like almost $200,000 in wholesale fees this year alone. Like not even trying, really, just kind of like we'll take them when we get them.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do like 50 or 60 like listing sales this year too. So it's like, but it's all the same methodology of what I just laid out.
Right.
Like nothing, there's no like magic or secret, right?
There's no magic. It's just, building relationships with people, following up with them and providing value. That's really all, from my understanding, that's all it is. And
Right.
with all these deals that we've sent you, or all these leads that we've passed your way, what happens? Say someone's like, hey, I'm looking to sell within the next, year, maybe 2 years. What's that strategy look like? Do you put them on drip campaigns, or how do you structure that?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is just to call them every so often, like every 3 months. Unless they say like I'm not selling for 3 years, I'm not going to call them every 3 months. But my team and I can like talk to them multiple times a year, and if you add up the amount of effort and time that it took, right? Like if I talk to somebody 5 times in a year, it's like I spent less than 20 minutes of my time.
Right.
And then they list with me next year. It's like, well, that 20-minute investment just turned into a $20,000 paycheck a year from now.
Right.
So it's like totally worth the time invested if you think about it like that. And of course, you don't want to be following up with people that are never going to move. But if they're saying like, yes, I'm going to, it's just not right now, it's definitely worth the agent's time to just stay in touch with them. And then I have my team, my virtual assistant, they're all in that process as well. Because it's like we have so many leads at this point that I personally couldn't do that on my own anymore, to call everybody back and like just touch base. So like the team does a lot of that. And then we have it kind of down to where like I'm only calling like really, really, really hot leads that are like pretty much ready to go or expecting my call. And then the team does all the follow-ups. And then I just go on the appointments that are set.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
prioritizing the leads. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And then we do like high priority, low priority, medium priority, and low priority follow-up calls. And then I'll just hit the highs. And then the team will do the medium and lows.
Like that.
Yeah. We use Mojo Dialer too, if anyone
Okay.
is
Interesting.
looking for a good CRM. It's pretty just basic and simple.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to before, just slightly a couple minutes ago when we were talking about like other like agencies out there. I'm sure you've worked with a lot of other marketing agencies, and like you said, they promise a lot. And it's very hard for them to deliver sometimes. With our
Yeah.
lead, we do everything a little bit different. What, like, other than obviously being pretty big in the investment side, like what else do you like about our leads that we kind of pass your way?
I would say they're just higher quality leads. Like I just signed up for another service just to test them out. And I mentioned you guys to put it in comparison. I was like, look, I'm getting 20 leads a month guaranteed, and they're all real seller leads. And he was like, well, yeah, but we do the same thing. Or it's like our quality of leads are seller leads and they're really, really good. And I've gotten 3 of their leads so far. One of them, which is, it wasn't even the correct, didn't even actually own a house. So I don't even know why this person would put their information into that system. And then the other 2 were just simply just like curious of what their home was worth and had absolutely no intention of selling. So it's like, I'm gonna have to go back to that guy and be like, I told you so. Like, it's
Right.
these leads are garbage. Like,
Yeah, and my favorite thing about our system is like, we guarantee 20 leads, 20 people that said like it's 100% accurate information, because I've noticed with Facebook, YouTube, and Google Ads, people tend to put in wrong information. So you call them multiple times, you don't even know if it's the right phone number. Ours, every single phone number is accurate. Every single address is accurate. They've actually said, hey, I'm looking to sell my property at some point. Can you help me out? But kind of getting into the end, I got a couple of last questions for you real quick. What would you say, any piece of advice for, anyone that is currently using our system? Any advice that you could give them to help them, convert a couple more deals each month? Anything that you would, recommend for them?
yeah, I would say if they're anything like the quality of leads that I've been getting, they're good leads. So all you got to do is just stay on top of them and put them in some type of follow-up sequence. If you don't get a hold of them the first time, that's okay. But like call them back at least once a week until you do. You can, I have my team like send handwritten notes if I, talk to somebody, so that way they know I'm a real person with my business card in there, and then they get it in the mail. They're getting voicemails from me. They're getting texts from me. I have their email. You guys provide the email too. So there's like a ton of different ways that you can stay in front of them. And as long as you do that, the client, the prospect, the homeowner is going to list with the agent that comes to mind first.
Yep.
Exactly. Right. So if it's their like best friend's like cousin that just got her license, but like she's the person that comes to mind first, she'll get the listing even though she's not qualified. But if you, who source this from a cold prospecting campaign, invest the time into that lead over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, then you're going to get the listing. It's just, sometimes it's about just like knowing that the client's going to list or sell when they're ready, not when you want them to. So you just have to sometimes be patient and know that the time that you invested prior to them being ready is it's going to be worth it, because again, depending on the market that the agent's in, like commission checks are pretty nice.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like you said, you just have to stay in front of them, like they're ready. They're like, oh, it's 3 months down the road. Hey, I'm finally ready to list my property. This able guy won't leave me alone. I'm getting calls and texts from him all the time. He's an agent. Why don't I just actually answer his call this time, and see how you can help me,
Right.
That's perfect. And then
Yeah,
last question for you real quick, man, is, would you recommend Certified Media in our system to any other agent out there?
absolutely. If the agent is willing to like call the leads and like can use their time to convert them. If not, it would be a waste of money, right?
Absolutely.
Like if I was like, if I had all of these leads and I'm paying for them and like me and my team aren't even calling them, then yeah, it would just be a wasted expense. But that's obviously not what's going on my team. We're getting after it. So short answer, if the agent that's considering it is willing to put in the work, then absolutely 100%. Like I'm thinking about like expanding to other markets like that are like maybe an hour and a half away from where I live, because it's so easy. It's like I was gonna hit you up and be like, hey, what would it look like to like take on Santa Barbara, which is like even more expensive than where I live. And then it's like, okay, now people in Santa Barbara that own 2, 3, $4 million houses are responding back, yeah, I would consider an offer. It's like, well, I'll probably drive out there to take a $4 million listing,
Right.
that's worth my time.
For sure. Yeah, that's the thing too. We can expand any market, man. So whenever you're ready, just let us know. And then the last thing I just want to harp on is, in all of our presentation, all of our sales calls, whenever we talk to any agent, we stress the importance of, look, we don't just want your money. If you're not willing to put in the work, and you have to tell us, right? You have to promise us right now. If you're not willing to put in the work, we're not going to accept you, because don't expect everything to be easy. Once you get the hang of it, it becomes a lot easier than any other type of lead generation out there. But you have to be consistent. You have to be, willing to follow up with these people. And just like you, man, like you have to be willing to go the extra mile. Like I can see why you guys are so successful, because you have the right team in place, you have the right follow-up process in place, and it's a process. But I really do appreciate your time hopping on here, man. Is there any other last minute things you'd like to say or anything else?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it is easy, bro. Like, just to put it in perspective, like I started off my business cold calling, like just basically shotgunning, looking for a needle in a haystack. Had to make like 100 calls before somebody that I talked to would say, like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling, like, I'm willing to meet with you. And like that was my process, and I still made it work, because it's like that's what you have to do sometimes to make a living. And now I'm literally getting a text message with somebody saying like, yeah, I would sell. So it's like it's completely different. It's just so easy. So I don't, yeah, it is easy as long as the agent like has a heartbeat, right? Like
It's so funny you said that, man, because like when I first started in sales too, I would cold call all the time. And like the amount of time, energy, and effort I put into cold calling was just like like it just killed me at the end of the day. I'm just like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to do anything. And now, like with cold text, like we use cold text for everything. The way we get our agents, we use it for solar companies, getting leads for solar companies, and we use it for real estate. The efficiency behind cold text is just insane, because like you can go through thousands of people every single day. It's way less invasive, and it's super simple to respond to someone. If you're actually interested, you're going to respond to this random stranger hitting you up. And luckily we have, the capacity to we send almost 1 million messages a month, and they're all manual too. It's insane right now.
that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I do want to chat with you about solar, because I have my solar certification now, and if it's as easy, like why not do both? So we'll chat about that after.
So yeah, solar is even easier than real estate, but, especially when you're doing both and both. Like we have a lot of agents that are like, we tell them about this, so I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go start selling solar now. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
why not?
But awesome, man. I really do appreciate you hopping on here. All the kind words, everything, it's been a blessing working with you so far, and super excited to scale and hopefully take over the whole United States with you, man.
Absolutely, brother. Let's do it.